Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and what I want to do tonight. So it is the night of September 12th, the September 12th ABC Houston debate, right? And what I want to talk about right now is how every single candidate stacked up against Andrew Yang. Right? So I am absolutely convinced we are seeing an unprecedented change in American history. We are seeing a candidate that has come out of nowhere, truly strided in from the mists, right? A candidate nobody expected, a non politician, an entrepreneur, a champion of justice, a champion of right, uh, a champion of awesomeness, right? Andrew Yang has walked from the mist, stunning everyone. No one expected him, right? And we are seeing now his continuous momentous walk directly to the White House, right? And all that you saw tonight in the debate is just how everybody else stacked up against Yang. That's it. It's all that happened tonight, right? So I'm gonna tick them off, right? We're gonna go through every single candidate, and I'm gonna tell you where they gained ground against Yang and where they lost ground against Yang. All right. Now there's only one candidate that actually gained ground at the macro level against Yang. We're going to talk about him first, right? And then we're going to talk about every other candidate who significantly lost ground. But the later in the video I talk about them, the more ground they lost to Yang tonight and the worse they did. So the order I'm going to talk people from the first people I talk about, they did the best tonight. And the last person I talk about, they did the worst. All right, so let's jump into it, right? All right, I got a little bit of bad news for you. We're going to talk about it first. I don't like to bury the lead. We got to talk about Biden, right? We got oh boy, this is a problem, all right? So here's the thing. Biden is the only candidate that gained ground against Yang, and he is a serious problem. And I have to say, he was a strong competitor tonight. In fact, I think he was the only real competitor for Yang tonight, right? And the reason why is I really don't like Joe Biden, right, for a whole lot of reasons. You know what? I'll save them to last, right? But the reality is I think tonight was Joe Biden's strongest performance to date of all three, right? And and the reason why is counter strikes, all right? So I'm a huge fan of the video game Soul Calibur. I've played every single edition of the game. When I was much younger in the 90s, I would go to a arcade and just line up quarters, right? And on two quarters on 50 cents, I could just finish the entire game. Or if anybody in the mall walked up, I could wreck them and continue to play on my own. Except for one dude. This one dude who worked in the nail salon would come up and get me off the machine. He was the only person who could beat me. Still bitter about it today. He was very good. All right. So, but anyway, there's a thing in Soul Calibur where you counter strike, right? So in Soul Calibur, you can attack your opponent, right? But when they come in and attack you, if you counter strike, attack them at the exact moment they attack you, use their momentum and use their proximity to counter strike them, it can be devastating. And boy, I'll tell you right now, I'm really, really upset to find out that Biden is an absolute master counter-striker. He counter-struck people left and right tonight. Let's go through them. He counter-struck Sanders. Sanders is like, Canada's really good at healthcare. Biden's like, this is America. I was like, whoa. It was really good. Biden called Sanders a socialist to his face. I was like, oh my gosh, right? Like just like spit it at him. I was like, whoa. Like, it was like a rap beef, man. It was bad. To Harris, she's like, let's say what we can. Harris comes at him and says, let's not say what we can't do. Let's say what we can do. He comes right back at her and counter strikes with, let's be constitutional. Wrecked her. Like, I was like, whoa, that's hard, man. All right. Oh my gosh. Castro called him out and said, hey, you take credit for everything Obama did that was good, but you're not taking credit for everything Obama did bad. He came right back at him. He's like, all 8 years, I own it. Good, bad, and indifferent. Every day of it. I was like, whoa, he was just crushing it. He was just like hitting it hard, right? So it was significant. All right, then uh, what was the next one? Oh yeah. Sorry. Um, the other one. Thanks. All right. So sorry, I lost my flow there. All right. The other one that he said, another really good power line he had. Okay. By the way, yeah. So those are all of his counter strikes, right? I want to talk about for each candidate there were power lines and sour lines, right? Power lines are good, strong lines that you had that gained ground against Yang, right? And said, hey, I'm a good politician too, just like Andrew Yang. Well, actually, yeah. Actually, I should be your president. Andrew Yang isn't a good politician. Andrew Yang is a great person, and that's why he should be our president, right? Because the reality is, I'm not sure a politician should ever be our president again. It's one of the reasons why I'm so strong for Yang. All right, Biden was like, hey, oh yeah, he came out hard against China. Said China's dumping steel on us, violates WTO, stealing our intellectual property. They have corrupt practices. Loved it. Loved how hard he rolled against China. Really good. It was strong. Okay. The other thing is he strode strength last week. Biden suffered publicly on national television, on international television. He was being like televised worldwide, and he suffered a subconjunctival hemorrhage last week. He was fully healed this week. Okay, I'm super glad Biden is fully healed of this, but it was a little annoying, right? Like, he healed up real fast. The other one is, at no point in the debate did either of his eyes fill with blood. So, like, that's good too. It shows strength. Like, you had a problem last week, you don't have it this week. Shows strength, right? All right. So now he did have a few sour lines. He was accused of deporting 3 million people with Obama, and that he supported the border wall, and he had no answer for that. Also, the resilience question was the best question of the entire night. He went personal, did not answer the question, did not explain his professional issue, right? Really, really weak, extremely weak, right? All right, now, Biden comes out, and he really represents well, right? Why should Biden not be our president? Well, guess what? I'm going to tell you why Biden should not be our president, right? It has nothing to do with Biden. Actually, I'm growing in respect for Joe Biden, right? He is really smart, and he's got some political moves, man. He's got some moves, right? Here's the problem. He's a decade past. He is a decade past. He is a decade past the time when we as a society have said, hey, we will pay you to rest, right? And I'll tell you right now, getting a 76-year-old man and making that person president will make him the oldest president in history, right? At a time when the job is tougher than any time in history, right? It is not, so the issue is getting anyone who is past the age of retirement and saying, we're going to make you our president, is not safe for the candidate, and it is not safe for the nation. My objection to Joe Biden as a candidate has nothing to do with Joe Biden. I am against anyone who is past the age of retirement, and the reason why is health is an issue, right? Like, it's a real thing. We are human. Like, nobody has a robot body yet, right? We break down both mentally and physically over time. This is a scientific fact, right? And that's the real reason Joe Biden should not be president, is we've reached a point where having an 80-year-old president in the job that is tough, is super, super tough, is just not a really great idea, right? In addition to that, I think his motivation is really terrible too. He does not want to be president. He just wants to stop Trump from being president. It's not a good reason to run. All right, spent a lot of time on Biden there. Thanks for your patience. All right, let's talk about Warren. She had some, so she had a good performance tonight, but she was definitely, everybody else was below Yang. Yang crushed it tonight, right? But Warren was closest to Yang's performance. Here's her power lines. Her resiliency answer, she said, I lined up my dollies. I was considered tough but fair. Love this line. And the reason why is I think it's challenging for female candidates to talk about being a girl or talk about being female. a lot of female candidates say, hey, you're trying to project strength, and just admitting that you're a woman. A lot of society unfairly doesn't connect that to strength. And I really like that Warren was like, hey, I'm going to show some courage here. I was a little girl at one point. I did play with dollies. I thought it was cool. Like she did a really good job with it. It was a strong, powerful line. It made me like her better, right? She talked about the anti-NRA issue, right? She said when we do this, it's not going to be a once and done. We're going to have to do it again and again and again, and this problem will be solved over points, and we'll solve it a piece by piece by piece. Very honest, very strong, powerful line. What were her sour lines? Oh my gosh, this drove me crazy, right? She went long on one of her answers, and they called on Yang, and she pushed him off, jumped into his spot, right? Took his time and displaced his answer. And then when he went to answer the question, she literally tried to jump in again and say, did you ask me or him? Right? Incredibly dismissive, incredibly disrespectful to my candidate, Andrew Yang. Did not like it. Did not like it. Okay. She said, never met anyone who likes their insurance company. Man, like, what about Flo? Like, honestly, I have good insurance, and I have a good insurance agent who works really hard to make sure my insurance policies are set. I know the dude, like, right? I like mine, right? And I think I was incredibly disrespectful to everybody who works in the insurance companies, right? That was not cool. She said two things I thought were very un-American. She said giant corporations bad. She said it in a bunch more words, but I thought that was very un-American, right? You're not bad because you're giant. That's not cool, right? And then un-American, she said she would bring home the troops right now with no deal with the Taliban. I'm like, what are they fighting for? Like, I just thought that was super un-American, and all that was sour lines, right? Those last ones. All right, Sanders did not have a single power line in the entire evening, right? All sour lines, right? All right, his voice was more gravelly and more breaky than usual, right? Is there a reason for that? I don't know. See, that's the problem with anybody who's over the age of retirement, is anytime there's even the slightest small problem, you're like, whoa, wait, is this person going to be alive a year from now? Like, it's a real issue. It is a very serious real issue. The other issue is, if either one of these guys gets in and crushes it and does a great job, then what's the next conversation? Oh, maybe we should raise the age of retirement. That's a problem, right? Like, even if they succeed, it's a problem. It is a serious problem. All right. I couldn't believe this. Everybody on that stage is trying to raise the level of discourse, right? You know what Sanders does? Sanders rolls up and curses within the first 5 minutes. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's crazy. Excuse me. He said, I wrote the doobly-doo bill, and he didn't say doobly-doo. He cursed early, and he was the only person to curse, right? According to what I saw. The other thing is, he said, we have a corrupt political system in Washington. Dude, you've been in Washington since 1991, right? If there's a corrupt political system in Washington, what the heck have you been doing for 19, like 28 years, for almost 3 decades? Like, you've been there in this corrupt political system? Wasn't that enough time to solve it? Why on earth should anybody think you're going to solve it now? It's really bad. All right. He says, there was a line where he says, these are all sour lines. All sour lines. Everything Sanders said tonight was a sour line. We don't even know who the enemy is. Earlier, Joe Biden called you a socialist. And I guess if you are a socialist, yeah, it might be hard to determine who America's enemies actually are. Like, he was literally walking into his own stereotype. I couldn't believe it. All right. I couldn't believe this. Sanders had to untangle himself as a socialist from Venezuela's Maduro, did it clumsily, and did not accomplish it. It was bad. All right, that's Sanders. Let's talk about Booker. Booker was fun tonight. All right, I have to admit, I enjoyed Booker. All right, so here's his power lines. Trudeau's hair is a menace. Hard political roll up on Canada. Severe political insult. Loved it. Right. All right. He said, this was really big. He said, This is, he said, this election is not a referendum on Trump. It's a referendum on us as a people. That's a powerful line, right? We as a people really need to start solving a lot of our problems because in some of these situations, we are the problem, right? In a lot of these situations, it's not the 1%. It's not big companies. It's us as Americans being jerks. And we've got to solve some of this on our own. The government can't do it all, right? And I love that Booker called that out. Anti-NRA. He's like, we have a crisis of empathy. Totally disagree with him on his opinion, but it was strong language. I was very impressed with the language. And I recognize good language when I hear it, man. It was a good line. He said more African American prisoners. He said there are more African American prisoners today than there were slaves in the 1860s. I was like, oh man, that's bad. Yeah, it brought to light very quickly a very powerful problem, and I'm based on what Booker said, I'm really going to give that more and more thought. Is there something I can do in that situation to help? I think Andrew Yang is very serious about justice reform, and this is a powerful line from Booker, and it really made me think. I'm like, this is a major problem in America, and he did a good job with it. He talked about another power line, invisible wounds. He said every candidate up here talked about international policy, but did not talk about the troops coming, home and these invisible wounds they had. Really strong. He had some sour lines. Anti-NRA. This was a sour line. He said it's his central issue. Dude, did you see Eric Swalwell already get wrecked out of the entire thing because he made that his main central issue? Like, read the room, right? Like it's yeah. Then climate signaling over a solution, right? Like he's signaling on climate rather than actually bringing solutions to climate. Why do I say that? One of the presenters said, "Hey, you're a vegan. Should everybody eat the way you are so that the Earth is more healthy?" And he said, "No." I'm like, dude, man, like stand up for what you believe. Like, make the hard answer, right? Like it seemed like a really weak answer, and it seemed like he's signaling on climate rather than bringing solutions. He also said that he plans on freeing 17,000 prisoners, right? And called other people to do it, and everybody was like, "What? Are you kidding?" Crickets, man. Like, they were like, "That's super vague and super worrisome," and like, no, nobody's agreed with you on that, dude. It was weird and like not good. Resilience. On the resilience question, Booker complained about losing to the March of the Penguins. Dude, March of the Penguins was an awesome movie. You should have lost. All right. Klobuchar, right? All right. What were her power lines? Well, one of them wasn't actually something she said, it was something she did. That money green jacket was dope. Really liked it. She said, "I am from the middle of the country." I love it. She's a Heartland stalwart. I love Heartland stalwarts. It's one of the strongest things I like about her. I really like Klobuchar. She had some power lines. Here's another power line. She's like, "We need to get a message to McConnell now on anti-NRA measures." Right now, again, I don't agree with anybody on that stage on anti-NRA. Right, I'm on the other side of that issue. But it was a powerful. Like, she was like, "We can't even wait until Trump's out. We got to do something now." And it was good. It showed urgency. It was really. I was impressed. Right. Her sour lines. It got called out that she supported tariffs on steel and that she cost the U.S. 300,000 jobs that got pulled out, that got put in front of her by one of the other people on the stage, and she had no answer for it. It was bad. Day 7, she's like, on day 7, you're supposed to rest, but I won't. I'm like, whoa, are you rolling up hard against God? That's kind of like, come on, man. Like, atheists can't win. Like, that's like a known thing. It's a big issue. Like, the atheists are talking about it right now, that there's like not a single candidate who will say I'm an atheist, right? Because they know, like, there's no faster way to lose votes. All right, let's talk about Castro. He had some power lines. Here's some of his power lines. He had a really awesome striking blue tie. Now, I was very upset. I'm a sneakerhead. I was hoping that one candidate would try to get a millennial vote by wearing some dope Nikes or some dope Adidases, right? Not a single one of them did. But Castro's striking blue tie would have been a good color on a pair of sneakers. And it was a good color match. It was nice. Good profile, all that. All right. He said, "We're going to root out racism." I'm like, whoa. Like, that sounds interesting. You're going to send people out to find racists? I'm like, yeah. All right, it's kind of proactive. All right, I'm willing to see where you're going with this. Other great power line by Castro. He's like, Maduro is a dictator. Done. Boom. Dropped it. Like I was like, yeah, he is. Totally is. Right? He called out Biden for not taking the bad for Obama. Right? Which is interesting. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. All right. Here's some of his sour lines. He said some crazy bad stuff that really hurt him. He said, in many ways, I should not be on this stage. I kind of agree. Like, I'm not sure, like, we could really use the space. I'd like to hear Andrew Yang talk a little more, and if you weren't there, that would be really helpful, right? So, but, like, I don't understand why a politician be like, in many ways, I should not be on the stage. No, you really shouldn't be saying that. That's not a good look. All right, he did. Okay. Castro repeated Harris's brutal attack on Biden early on. Harris is still paying the price for that, and Castro looked bitter and personal. His attack looked bitter and personal, and frankly, the same way Kamala did. I can't believe he made the same mistake Harris did, attacking Biden in a bitter and personal way. It was not good. He had a Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one power line. He said schools are segregated because our neighborhoods are segregated. He's saying we as a people need to solve this problem, not the government. Whoa, boy, do I agree with that. Oh my gosh, let's go back to the sour lines. This was incredibly bad sour line. Couldn't believe how bad this was. He said Bill Clinton's legacy. Dude, like you can't be calling out Bill Clinton. You cannot be talking about Bill Clinton in the same area you're talking about Obama, right? What's Bill Clinton's legacy? Well, last year we thought a lot about Bill Clinton's legacy when Me Too happened, and then just this year we thought a lot about Bill Clinton's legacy when he was attached to Epstein. Good grief, man. You cannot connect Bill Clinton with Obama. They have different legacies. They're going to be famous for different things going forward, man. Like, come on. Like, pay attention. Like, Bill Clinton is not, like, on the cool side anymore. Like, there's a little bit of a different history on him now. Like, catch up. All right. Castro bowed down to Bernie on healthcare. Not cool, looked weak. Resilience. His resilience answer. I couldn't believe it. He said, believe it or not, lawyers have ethics rules. Like, you're calling yourself out for being a lawyer? He also said, we think of politics as dirtying and corrupting. It's true. You are a politician. That's why I love Yang so much. He's not. Right? Like, so he literally hasn't spent time being dirtied and corrupted like all the other politicians on the stage. It's kind of weird. He said a lot of stuff that was like, dude, did anybody check this for you? All right. So Harris. Let's talk about Harris. Harris did not have a single power line the whole night. She had a bunch of sour lines. She opened with Trump bad, and then she went Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. It's almost all that came out of her mouth the whole night, and it's noise. It's just noise. Like, I'm a Democrat and I don't like Trump. Who cares? Like, everybody on the stage doesn't like Trump. Say something new. So, like, come on. All right. No. She said somebody called her out for backing Bernie's bill, and now smack talking it. She had no answer for that. She bowed, just like Castro. She bowed down to Bernie on healthcare. Looked weak. She got called out for opposing 420, and now she doesn't oppose it. She had no answer for it. She used the term de-incarcerate. Are you kidding me? You're using the term de-incarcerate? Right? Like, that is like, you spent your career incarcerating. You are an incarcerator, right? You don't get to use the term de-incarcerate. Resilience. I couldn't believe this. She used her answer to the best question of the night, resilience question, on how she professionally failed to say she fought to be able to put a lot of people in prison. I'm like, whoa. Well, I can't believe she took time to say that, right? Pete Buttigieg, rough night for him. Not a single power line. He struggled to follow Yang. He literally had to wait for the applause for Yang to die down before he could start. Couldn't believe it. He said that the national debate is becoming unwatchable. You're in it, dude. Like, you're literally doing it now, telling people that the thing they're watching is unwatchable. Well, maybe when you're on the screen. He said Trump has no strategy. Dude, come on. Trump, saying that Trump has no strategy is ridiculous. Every politician for the next 100 years will need to study the map that Trump drew, because he changed politics forever. Right? This whole idea that Trump has no strategy and is dumb, it's getting old, right? And it just sets him up to win more. It's a bad idea. I couldn't believe this. He said he's going to end. He's going to bring an end to endless war, dude. Tulsi's gone, right? And nobody missed her. You're attaching Tulsi's greatest weakness, non-interventionism, to yourself, and you're already losing momentum in the polls. Why on earth would you do this? Tulsi's non-interventionism made sure she couldn't even make it to the stage, and you're gonna like duct tape non-interventionism to yourself now? That's crazy, right? Resiliency, right? His answer was forgettable. I literally can't remember it. It was quite forgettable. Ooh, last dude, the person who lost the most ground to Yang tonight, okay? Beto O'Rourke. He had one power line. He actually talked about the 1619 project, and he talked about how America really has this new 16, that now understanding the problem that Abraham Lincoln solved, to some extent, not fully, is better understood as a 1619 problem. I actually did an entire video on 1619. I'm surprised that anybody talked about it. I'm not surprised. I'm thrilled that anybody talked about it. I wish more candidates had talked about it. It's a brilliant project. I think it's really important. It was the one power line he had. He talked about immigration overstayers and was saying, hey, you come into America, and you broke the law to get here, it's cool, no problem. I'm like, whoa, man, I don't know where you're getting that. Did climate signaling over climate solutions. He talked about zero emissions by 2050. Dude, like everybody's saying that like this is a now problem. This isn't a 30 years from now problem. Come on, that's climate signaling, not climate solution. Last thing is he used his resiliency answer to talk about a soccer team, to talk about soccer team coaches, and totally dodged the question. It was weird. O'Rourke, I don't even know why he's still in the race. Like he's kind of a placeholder at this point, in my opinion. That is all the candidates, right? And every single one of them lost ground to Yang tonight, except Biden. And the reality is, Biden's a cool dude. I see why people like him, but the problem is, it is not safe for this nation to have a president who's going to be 80 years old during the presidency. It's not safe for the candidate. It's not safe for the it's not safe for the candidate. It's not safe for the nation. Bernie Sanders agreed with that. He talked about it in the Fox News town hall, and said that age is something that everybody should consider. And if you're considering it, boy, you really need to think twice about bringing either Sanders or Joe Biden. It will set a new precedence for age in the presidency at a time when the presidency has never been harder. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. What do you think? Who do you think gained ground against Andrew Yang, lost ground against Andrew Yang? Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.